Good evening, all. Thank you all for joining me. I would like to thank you guys all for joining me again. I want to make sure we are fully live and everything is going good. Okay, so we are live. I just had to make sure basically everything was good. That we are up and we were running. So thank you all for joining me. But before we begin our coverage, we would like to send our prayers and heartfelt condolences to all affected in the Uvalde shooting tragedy, especially the families of the victims and the surrounding community of Uvalde. So, my condolences and prayers are with you, and stay strong, Uvalde, and the entire state of Texas. So, today we will be doing a live primary election coverage for 5 states. We have the states of Georgia, Texas, Arkansas, Alabama, and Minnesota. Now, with Minnesota, it's a special election. There was a representative Congress member who died in February in Minnesota, and that triggered a special election, and the primary is taking place today. So today are all primaries, no general elections. So we're just finding out who's going to become the nominees. We're going to start off. We have a couple of projections. Most of the polls have closed for most states so far. But let's just give you the key races we are looking at tonight. These are what we call key races. They're very important races to the American people. We have Georgia's Senate Republican race, the Republican primary, Georgia's Democratic Senate primary, Georgia's Georgia's Republican gubernatorial primary, Georgia Secretary of State, the Republican primary, Georgia Republican District 14 of the House of Representatives, Texas Attorney General. This is a runoff from the March 3rd primary that took place in Texas. Alabama Governor, the Republican race. Arkansas Governor, the Republican race. Arkansas Senate, the Republican race. Texas District 28, the Democratic District primary. Georgia District 7. That's a race that lots of people are really looking at, really looking at. But we have some projections already. Let's start off with the great state of Georgia. Polls closed at 7 p.m. in Georgia, so we got more of our projections there. In the Georgia Democratic gubernatorial primaries, we project Stacey Abrams will become the Democratic nominee. Abrams ran. She was the nominee, not ran. She ran as the nominee in 2018 for governor and lost to Brian Kemp. And let's just tell you a little of what's happening in the Republican primary. Now, there's a projection, but we're going to get to that in a minute. But Brian Kemp is fighting to win a second term. But in order to win a second term, you have to win the primary. And his biggest primary challenger is the Trump endorsed candidate. And his name is Senator David Perdue. He was elected out of the Senate in a 2021 runoff because in the great state of Georgia, if no one has 50% of the vote, you have to advance to a runoff. So far, nobody has advanced into a runoff, but obviously that can always happen because in states like this, you never know what really happens in these states. But there we go. Stacey Abrams will once again become the Democratic nominee for governor of Georgia. For the Republican Georgia Senate primary race, we project someone, Herschel, and coach, he will become the Republican nominee. Herschel Walker, he was the Trump endorsed candidate. He will become the Republican nominee and go on to the November general election. But we know who he's facing. In the Democratic primary, incumbent Raphael Warnock is running to find himself in another term. So he wins. He's going to come on and win the Georgia Democratic primary. So there we have our first matchup confirmed. Raphael Warnock, the incumbent Democratic senator, and Herschel Walker, who's looking to become the next senator from Georgia. This will be a key race in November. It's already a key race. The primaries are a key race, meaning it'll become a key race just out of all. So there we go. And now, NN News is projecting Brian Kemp will be elected the Republican nominee. Now, let's show you this large margin. Brian Kemp has stayed at 72 or 73% the entire night. It's been like that for an hour and 25 minutes. Okay. He's leading right now by at least, get this right, 50%. And the big problem is that this is not going to a runoff. The votes are 176,924 to David Perdue at only 55,000 votes. So therefore, we are now projecting that Brian Kemp, will become the Georgia Republican nominee for the gubernatorial election in November. Now, this is confirming a rematch between Stacey Abrams and incumbent Governor Brian Kemp. This will not be a happy day for President Trump, as President Trump has some sort of beef with Governor Kemp. And as we're speaking momentarily, all the other news networks are calling the race. So they're officially, the Secretary of State's office has called Brian Kemp. That's what I'm looking at here. He has been called the winner in the state of Georgia, and therefore a major defeat for President Trump. But Brian Kemp will go on to the November election, and he will defeat David Perdue. He's going to defeat David Perdue in a bit of a twist. Everybody basically said this was going to be a big race, and they really did think that David Perdue would become the Republican nominee, but therefore Brian Kemp just came in and won the race. It was so easy for him, but he knows that it took a lot of work to win this race. And actually, Perdue is having a watch party in Georgia at his headquarters, so it'll be interesting to hear former Senator Perdue's concession speech. And actually, let me rephrase that. Let's hope he does concede. Let's give you a couple of other states and what's happening in the other states. In Alabama, we have some races we can call races. We have This is very surprising. Let's share this with you. The Alabama Senate Republican primary. It's a key race. Now, President Trump endorsed Mo Brooks, but in March, he rescinded that endorsement after Mo said that President Trump basically needed to stop saying that there was fraud in the election. And President Trump liked that, and he rescinded his endorsement of Mo Brooks, and Brooks has fallen to the ground. Currently, he's in third place. He's a representative from Alabama, but the leader is Britt. She's at 44.4%. Honestly, there's barely any votes in, so we can't trust it. She only has 40 votes. 40 votes. She's 14 votes ahead. Durant has about 26, and Mo Brooks has 21. But this is just showing you that when you start early and you start to lose, it's going to build something up. The Senate Democratic primary, Boyd is leading big time. I'm going to call it already. I'm going to call Boyd the winner in a Senate Alabama race for the Democratic primary. In the Democratic Senate primary, I'm projecting Boyd the winner. So Boyd, he's going to go on to the November general election against whether it's Britt, Durant, or Brooks. Face him. He has to. He barely has any choice. Alabama primary for governor. This gubernatorial primary is a big primary for the Republicans because Kay Ivey, she is the incumbent Republican governor. She's had a first term, but she's running for her second full term. And she has so many primary challengers, several primary challengers. Let me give you a full count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 primary challengers. But she is still managing to lead. She's leading by exactly 10% against James. And it's between James and Ivey. Basically, they're running the race. James, Ivey, and Blanchard. But basically, we know it's going to probably come down to Ivey, James, or Blanchard. So it'll be interesting to see if Governor Ivey retains her Republican nomination to become the governor. Polls are closing right now at the moment in the state of Arkansas. Polls do close at 8:30 in Arkansas, so we are waiting momentarily to get results. In Arkansas for the gubernatorial race, that's a key race. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, her father, Mike Huckabee, he was the former governor of Arkansas. Sarah, she was the former White House press secretary under President Trump. She has some big endorsements. She has Trump's support. She has her father's support. She has Asa Hutchinson's support. He's the incumbent governor. He has lots of support. And she also has John Boozman's support, who is fighting himself to retain his Senate seat in the Republican primary. In the Arkansas primary for the Senate, he's facing 3 primary challengers. Boozman is the Trump-endorsed candidate, so it'll be interesting to see if he can retain as well. Now, I want to go back to Georgia and point out this race. Secretary of State, the Georgia primary results for the Republicans. Brad Raffensperger and Jody Hice. There's 4 candidates running, but Brad Raffensperger and Jody Hice are basically, we knew it was going to be like this. They were going to be the final 2. Raffensperger is leading by a good 27%. And Donald Trump is already disappointed that Brian Kemp won. Imagine how much he would be disappointed at Brad Raffensperger. President Trump used to like Brad and Brian, but after they came out against him in the 2020 elections, he got very mad at them, frustrated, and furious that he said that they were not right for Georgia. But apparently the voters have something else to say to President Trump. So there we have it. Another thing that lots of people are watching is Georgia 14, the district. I'm going to be the one to call it. In Georgia District 14, I can now call Marjorie Taylor Greene the winner. Again, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's going to go on to face her second term. She only faced basically Strahan, and she's leading at 71%. 71%. So I'm going to call it Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie will become the winner. She's going to go on to another term. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 key races is the amount that we have called. 4. These races are still very tender, and we don't want to call something and it's wrong. So that's why it's taking lots of time to call these races. This is an interesting race. Jessica Cisneros, sorry if I mispronounced that, and caller. He's leading by 1%. The interesting part about this is that in Texas 28, this advanced to a runoff because they had their primary and nobody meet the margin that Texas needs them to meet. So they had to advance. This is a key race because it's one of those races that it can prove a statement to one of those progressives. Kohler, he's definitely a big progressive, and they're not going to really like it if he big time loses. So that would be interesting if he does lose. In Georgia District 17 for the Democratic primary, we're having a Democratic incumbent primary battle. Lucy McBath and Carolyn Bourdieu, they are facing off in the Democratic primary. Due to redistricting, they've both been combined into Georgia House District 7. Only one can become the Democratic nominee. And it's going to be McBath or Bourdieu. Now, Lucy McBath is leading by 80%, and Bourdieu is only at 17.2%. So I'm going to be the one to call it. In Georgia District 7, it's going to be Lucy McBath. We've noticed something that's been interesting. This is the second time due to redistricting that one of those key races that two incumbents have been forced to face off. And we're noticing how much it's taking a toll on the party. Now, the party doesn't want to see anyone to go, but they also realize that they just want a member of their party in that seat. They don't care if it's someone they don't even like at all. They don't care if it's someone who has experience. They just want to make sure it's someone that is a member of their party. And for the Democrats, they really need to retain these seats, or they are worried about losing the House. So there we have another race we can call in a big race. So that would make it 5 key races we have called. We know who Marjorie Taylor Greene's Democratic opponent will be, and that will be Marcus Flowers. He's going to win big time. He's at 77%. So Marcus Flowers is going to be the winner. So there we go. For Georgia 14 in the Democratic, that's going to be Marcus Flowers. Let's see our results if we have any results in Arkansas yet. No, we do not have any results in Arkansas. But wow. In the Alabama primary Senate for the Republicans, Britt is still leading. Katie Britt, she's leading at 62.2%. She has 271 votes, while Durant only has 21.1%, 92 votes, while Mo Brooks is only at 14% at 63 votes. Mo Brooks is doing horrible so far. We know there's barely any votes in, but it's a big problem when there's not lots of votes so far to report already, because the person leading is like a big time percentage there. But we do know the Democratic Alabama primary. We know that we already called Boyd, so we know whoever is going to face Boyd. But we're going to be the one to call again for the Alabama gubernatorial race. For the Alabama gubernatorial primary for the Republicans. Kate Ivey will be reelected as the Republican nominee. So Alabama Governor Kay Ivey, she's gonna win the incumbent. She's gonna become the Republican nominee to try to seek a second full term. She defeats all 8 of her primary challengers. For the Democratic gubernatorial primary, Sanders Fortler is actually leading by 42.6%. But there's barely any votes in. Only it's by 3 votes. She's leading by 3 votes against Flowers, so it's not very to call it. Again, Kay Ivey, she's winning by too big of a margin. Let's go back to Georgia, because Georgia is really the hot seat. Georgia's a big hot seat that everybody's really looking at, and I think that's something that everybody's really looking at, and that's the state of Georgia. So let's give you some more Georgia polls and what we are seeing. For Secretary of State, Raffensperger is still leading big. He's leading very big, and it's probably worrying President Trump. Because President Trump he gets worried once he sees that his candidate is not doing good at all. So President Trump is probably not doing too good, as he already lost 1. There we go. I have a race to call. In Texas, I can now project that the Attorney General race for the Attorney General runoff, we had Ken Paxton, who was the Trump-endorsed candidate, versus Bush. Bush is the nephew of former President George Bush, and we are going to project Ken Paxton will be the winner. Ken, he's the current Attorney General of Texas, and lots of voters told me in polls that I saw that this Georgia shooting today changed their minds, and the people who didn't vote yet, that was one of their key things, because Ken Paxton, he released a statement today on this, and he basically said, we are one city, we are one state, and we are one destiny. And that touched the minds of lots of Texans, and I think that's one of the reasons they reelected Ken Paxton to be their Republican nominee. So there we have it. Ken Paxton is going to go on. So for the Texas Attorney General for the Republicans, we know that's going to go to Ken Paxton, who is, again, the Trump-endorsed candidate. That's another win to President Trump and another incumbent that will go on. So that's one of our key races called, meaning we have 6 key races officially called. Another one that is called. So Arkansas, still no results. Everybody's saying that these votes are coming in as fraud, basically. I'm reading a tweet right now from. I'm reading a tweet currently from Mo Brooks. He says this election is already fraud. I can see it. He said I can see it. There is no way Katie Britt is leading me by 200 votes. I am leading and I am winning, and I know it to myself. More Republicans saying the fraud in the elections. I can't wait to see what the Alabama Department of Elections has to say about results. But in the meantime, we're going to just give you some house races that we want to call for you. Some house races that we would like to call for you is in Georgia 5, Zim. He will become the Republican nominee. In Georgia District 3, Ferguson, he won by a landslide, major landslide. He's going to go to become the Republican nominee. Remember Marjorie Taylor Greene, we already called her. She will go on to be reelected as the Republican nominee to that. On the Texas Uvalde shooting, the school shooting tragedy that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, he's delivering his remarks, and he is basically saying that that we are one nation, and basically what Ken Paxton said. And that's just an update if you're wondering what President Biden is saying. That's basically all he's saying. So you can keep watching your election primary coverage instead of having to switch it to get your coverage. In Georgia 12, this is a key race, the Democratic primary. Johnson won. Lots of people said write-ins would defeat him because he is not the incumbent. This is a redistricting race where lots of people doubted him, but it ended up that he wins. Georgia 13, another key race. Scott, he defeated Baker. A landslide. He defeated Baker in a major landslide, and these are really expectations that a lot of people had, and it's getting defeated right now in their minds because nobody can really believe it. So nobody can really believe that that's happening. I'm just getting some more votes for you to see just everything and how everything's going in certain states. Polls have closed in the state of Arkansas. So polls have closed in the state of Arkansas, but nothing's being reported to us yet. Nothing so far. There we go. In Arkansas, there was a bit of an error. It is only 7:47 there. They are an hour behind us. So it is an hour behind us. So polls do close, I believe, at 8 there. They close at 8. So we should wait until 9 on Eastern time zone to have results for the state of Arkansas. Let's go into a little more detail of these primary results and why they're so big of a difference. President Trump, President Trump has endorsed several candidates, and there are people that he thinks that should be elected. And President Biden has endorsed the people he thinks. But President Trump, if President Trump endorsed some people, it's always changing. I'm really just reading the tweets of the people that are teams. Okay. So there we go. Basically what's happening are races are changing by minute. They are really going on, and there's really no control over what's happening in certain state. In the Alabama primary, this is interesting. Britt is remaining her lead. We did not project that race because it's still very early on, but Katie Britt, she is leading 57.3. She has about 788 votes. She's leading by 4. Brooks is only at 14%, while Durant is at 25%, and Brooks only has 204 votes. So we can see he's moving up, but he's really not doing the best that he can do. And that's something that is regarding to President Trump's endorsement. It's something that a lot of people are thinking, and nobody's really realizing what is happening. Nobody's really realizing what's happening with these primaries. Also, I want to point out something. Big. In the great state of Minnesota, polls are about to close as well in there. So we are waiting momentarily to get those results. Just looking to make sure we don't have any results that we didn't see about, just to make sure, because we know how that works. So in Arkansas, we are about to get our results. So for our primary, we are about to get our results. Let's just recap you of what's happening. In the Democratic primary, for Alabama, Boyd is the projected winner. In Georgia, House District 14, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's going to go on, easily wins her renomination. Georgia 7, Lucy McBath, she easily won that district against Carolyn Borodayaks. Georgia 14, the Democratic. This will be Marjorie Taylor Greene's opponent, Marcus Flowers. Alabama Governor, Kay Ivey. She easily won that against all 8. And a Texas runoff race that's being called is the Texas Attorney General, and Ken Paxton, he's going to defeat George P. Bush. And honestly, this is a major win for President Trump, because Trump doesn't even want to hear the name Bush. You're family with George Bush. He doesn't like you. And that's obviously because George W. Bush, George W.H. Bush, and all of them, they all have problems with President Trump. So all of them just basically don't like President Trump. It's a Bush thing. Basically, we're not getting any votes in right now. So In the meantime, you can look at some other things, get some things if you need, and of course, you'll hear me when we have more results. We'll be back with more coverage after the break. Just to be clear, there's no commercials. It's just I'm going to take a quick break. So you can go get something to drink, but I'll be back. Welcome back to primary coverage. And we are back, and we have results from Arkansas. They just came in. Polls closed, and there we go. I have a projection. Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Sarah Huckabee Sanders easily wins the Arkansas primary results for governor. The Republican primary Arkansas race for governor, she easily wins that. So Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Sarah, she went in. Looks like she will become the next governor out of polling, and how political the state is. It basically seems like that. So that's one of the projections that we can make. Her opponent is going to be Jones. For her opponent, Jones, he's going to go on to become the Democratic nominee. So Jones is going to be the winner. In the Arkansas Senate race, this is a big key race. John Boozman is going to be reelected. He wins the renomination. So in Arkansas Senate, John Boozman will be renominated as the Republican nominee. His opponent will be James. James easily also wins that Arkansas Senate. So that's something, another interesting race. So his opponent is going to be James. I'm just giving you the whole rundown. Secretary of State, Thurston. Sec of State. So Thurston. So let's give you how many key races we can call already. We have called the Georgia Senate Republican race, the Georgia Senate Democratic race, the Georgia gubernatorial Republican race, the Georgia Republican District 14, Georgia Democratic District 7, Texas Attorney General, Arkansas Governor Republican race, Arkansas Senate race, and I am momentarily pulling up our other. There we go. We finally have some Alabama results. In the Alabama Senate race, this is a big key race. Katie Britt, she's still leading. We're in the thousands. Our top three are on the thousands. Katie Britt with 46.2%, Durant 25.5%, and Brooks at only 25.2%. Brooks has 1,400 votes. Durant 14,666, and Britt has 2,600, and she's very ahead by a couple of thousand votes there. So, and we can also call Alabama. So for the Alabama gubernatorial race, so we have called 9 key races. 9 key races. So we have called all 9 key races for today, and that is what's happening. We will be right back. We're going to take another break. Thank you. colleagues to get more results. So, to get more results. So if you're joining us, we are doing primary coverage. Thank you to the people who are now joining us. We are doing primary coverage of 5 states. That's Minnesota, Texas, Arkansas, Alabama, and Georgia. So there we go. We've delivered Senate races and most races that we think that is important for you to know. So polls are now only closing. They're only now closing in Texas and Minnesota. Now they're closing in Texas and Minnesota. So if you're joining us, we have already called Texas. We've called in the Texas Attorney General race, Ken Paxton. He by literally 33%, he defeated George P. Bush. That was one of those races that we called because we got in the votes from the Texas Secretary of State. This is a race I'm just keeping track of. Excuse me. The Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, is still fighting. You know what? I'm going to go do what people said I would never do. I project Brad Raffensperger the winner. So for Georgia Secretary of State, I'm projecting Brad Raffensperger. Brad Raffensperger will go on to the November general election. Another Georgia defeat for President Trump. His endorsed candidate was Jody Hice. They're the representative from Georgia. He's going to get defeated, and their opponent will be. Let me just make sure I pronounce this name correctly. Sorry, Nguyen, Nguyen, Nguyen. I don't want to pronounce anyone's name wrong, so there we go. So I am receiving my pronunciation. I was right, Nguyen. So Nguyen. So Nguyen, he's going to go on to face Brad Raffensperger. So Minnesota, we still have no votes in that special primary. The special primary, no votes in. In Texas, we're basically got most of our votes already. It's only it's depending on the county. The counties are sending their results to the Secretary of State, and that's how we're getting our results. So we won't know our results unless we're told. The Attorney General, the Democratic nominee, Garza is the winner. I want to make that clear. He's the Democratic nominee. I want to show you Texas 28 and where it stands. For Texas 28, Collier is leading by 1%. He's leading by 1.8%. So that's where that stands. We're going to go take another break. Thank you. Just so you're not confused, I am doing live election coverage, but we're currently on a break. Welcome back from commercial break. What we want to share with you is why we have yet to call Texas District 28. Texas District 28. Due to redistricting in Texas, we know San Antonio. San Antonio is it leans towards the Democrats mainly, and that's something that is really messing this nomination because you always want someone who's you think best. But a lot of people they don't sit there and research their candidates. They just look and say, "Oh, my favorite person is voting for them, so why shouldn't I?" You know what I mean? That's something you can't really do in this day because lots of people they don't have. Okay, breaking news. Katie Britt is still in the lead, but Mo Brooks is in second place right now. So, Katie Britt, she's at 5,410 votes, but she has 43.9%, while Mo Brooks has 29.1%. He just crossed 29, and he only has 3,587. And Durant, he's at 24.1%, just crossed 24, and he's only at 2,968. So there we go. Let's tell you the key races that we still have yet to call. We still have yet to call the Alabama Senate Republican primary and the Georgia, and we call Georgia. So we call the Georgia Secretary of State race. So we only have two races we're looking for: the Texas District 28 and Alabama governor Republican race. Now, not to get off topic, but let's just make this clear. In one of the great states, Pennsylvania, we still have yet to know a winner out of that Republican Senate primary. We know our Democratic, we know John Fetterman won, but we don't know if Mehmet Oz is the winner. We don't know if Carla Sands is the winner, if Kathy Barnett is the winner, or basically this race, or David McCormick, excuse me. The race is Mehmet Oz, David McCormick, Kathy Barnett, Carla Sands. And the fact is that these are the top four contenders, right? Mehmet Oz is only leading by 0.2%. Imagine leading by 0.2% and thinking that you are the winner. That's not very good. But nobody's got an official word of what's happening in Pennsylvania. I'm pretty sure they're doing a recount, but honestly, nobody has of what's happening. We're just making sure we haven't missed any results or any projections we should call. We already called Arkansas, the governor, Sarah Huckabee. We already called her. Sanders, excuse me. We already called Lucy McBath, the winner. Just making sure our results are coming in from the Secretary of State's office correctly. Just so you're not questioning, in Minnesota, there are 0 results in. So no Minnesota results are in. In Arkansas, I've already called every race. In Arkansas, I'm just recapping. Arkansas Republican primary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she's going to be the winner. Arkansas Democratic, Jones, he's going to be that. Arkansas Senate, the Republican primary, John Boozman, he's going to be the winner. In Arkansas Senate, the Republican, it's going to also be he's going to be a James. Arkansas Senate for the Democrats, James. Secretary of State for Arkansas, I called Thurston already. And Georgia Secretary of State, I called Brad Raffensperger, and his opponent will be Nguyen. So there we go. Just making sure I didn't miss anything. Well, it's now 9:15, and there is going to be a time we're going to end. So we're going to end at 9:30, because literally right now at 9:15, this is 1 hour we've been on the air. A little bit over 1 hour because I think we just started at 8:15 on the dot. So, there we go. I'm looking to see really what's happening because I'm not getting any. Okay. In the Georgia Democratic Lieutenant Governor race, we will have a primary, a runoff primary. Hall has to advance. She only got 30.1%. She's going to advance to the primary. Advancing to the primary, it will be Hall. This is for the Democratic primary, Georgia Democratic primary for lieutenant governor. It's going to advance to a runoff. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be on the 21st of next month, a little bit less than a month away. So a couple of days, 3 days short of a month. So I think that we should, we're going to have a special election. I don't think we will be covering it unless we're doing coverage on that day. Yeah, we probably will be doing coverage on that day or whatever day it is on, because on election days are always on Tuesdays, and these are big Super Tuesdays. So I think I'm just looking at my sheet just to make sure I haven't missed anything so far. Making sure no races have been called. So in Texas, District 28, the Democratic primary runoff, Henry Cooler is leading now by 6%. He's leading by 6%. It's 53% to 47%. 14,000 votes to 12,000 votes. So that is very interesting. Just reading everything, making sure everything's right, reading the projections that we already called. We are very early to make most of our projections. So since there's no real projections to make right now, we're going to take a little break. Thank you.